tonight on Up to Speed with Tripp Simpson. We're going to talk about the truth behind this whole Diddy and Cassie situation. We're also going to talk about new evidence emerging in the whole Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion shooting fiasco. And also, last but not least, we're going to talk about this new hot topic on Twitter and the rest of social media called Black Fatigue. All that and more on episode number 124 of Up to Speed with Tripp Simpson. We'll be right back.
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Up to Speed with Tripp Simpson. I am your host, Tripp Simpson, in the building.
And you gonna get off his corners? You gonna leave his people be? Or you the one that's gonna find yourself a new plug?
You don't mean that shit?
The fuck I don't. I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick. And I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just because you don't like the way another nigga talk.
I don't think y'all niggas heard me, man. I don't think y'all heard me. I say once again, I am your host, Tripp Simpson, back in the building. Let's get it.
Commander of the armies of the North, General of the Felix Legions. Loyal servant to the true Emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son. Husband to a murdered wife. And I will have my vengeance. In this life or the next.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know how this goes. Before we get into this live stream tonight, first and foremost, we got to handle business. Let's get it.
Family moving up in the business. I know you're going to look after family.
What family you talking about, Ice?
Fuck, I look invisible, nigga.
That's right, I'm not invisible, so do me a favor. If you're watching live tonight on YouTube, Facebook, X, or Instagram, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button for me. Also, if you're watching live on any platform, man, don't forget to comment in the live chat below. I don't care if you're on X, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube or Instagram, I can see your messages. I'll shout you out if your messages is worth shouting out. Also, you will always get your messages shouted out if you hit that super chat button or you hit the Cash App. If you hit the super chat or the Cash App, automatic shout outs. You know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into this show. All right? Because I got a lot I want to talk about. I've been gone for a little minute. I've been in Orlando getting robbed. Of course, my daughter was in the cheerleading championships this week. And yes, they know how to rob you blind. They definitely know how to rob you blind. So, yeah, I'm just getting back, trying to recover from the highway robbery. But baby girl did place, they placed top 14 out of like 150 teams. So shout out to them. But anyways, man, let's get into the show tonight. First, I want to talk just a little bit about Diddy, right? I'm not trying to do the day-by-day trial talk because it's just way too much information. It's way too much information, and there's a lot of other important shit to talk about. It's a lot of other shit to talk about. Shout out to my man Al Williams, bro. Shout out to Al, man. Al, I see you, big dog. I see you. But yeah, man, this Diddy situation, man, real quick, I just want to put it simple. All right? When it comes to Cassie, right? I definitely think that Puff was wrong for beating her down in the hotel, for sure. In that sense, yes, she is a victim. But when it comes to what they're trying to charge him with, and don't get it twisted, I'm not a Diddy apologist, okay? Diddy's being charged with a lot of things, and if he's guilty of any of them, lock him up. But it's also important that we understand that when you're in court, they have to be relevant to what the charges are for. And as far as Cassie being a victim of sex trafficking, so far I don't believe that to be true. I mean, based on the text messages and some of the stuff that she's saying on the stand, it doesn't appear as if she's actually a victim. It doesn't appear that way. And then they're using this domestic violence stuff, which I mean is terrible. But I believe that of course, if you don't know, they played the whole 15-minute video from the hotel incident, right? They played the whole 15-minute video for the jury. And that has nothing to do with what he's being charged with. Granted, do I think he's guilty of being a domestic abuser? Yes, I do. But I think the fact that the feds are using that video, I think it's kind of jury manipulation. Because after watching that video, most human beings don't have the mental capacity to get over that when it comes to handing out a verdict. Like, unless you're like a lawyer or a paralegal or somebody that knows how the court process is supposed to go, most people are just going to be like, oh, he's guilty just because of the videotape. Which, I mean, I guess you could say, if you're going to go that hard and beat on a woman, that you should be, guilty. But I mean, I'm just saying, they trying to get this man like a long ass time in prison. And I think if you try to give a man 20, 30 years in prison, you got to present a strong case. And right now, I just don't think that, based on what the testimony is right now, I don't think the case is very strong. Now, he has been charged with other things besides sex trafficking. Okay, he's been also charged with drug trafficking. He's been charged with possession of illegal firearms. I think he's being charged with extortion. I think he's being charged with like attempting to put out hits on other artists. So you have all that, right? And whenever they get to that in the trial, we'll see what evidence they have. Like I said, I'm not a Diddy apologist. To be honest with you, if Diddy is guilty of using these freak off parties and drugging people and extorting people and doing all these things, I hope he goes down, and I hope he takes the rest of the filth in the hip hop industry down with him, because I don't really agree with most of the things that any of these people do. I really don't. So I think that if these people go down, I think it could be a good thing. So I'm not a Diddy apologist, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit up here and act like Cassie is a victim when she's on record for saying that she's been enjoying a lot of the things that's been going on. Matter of fact, let's go to this TMZ article real quick. Just so y'all don't think I'm just talking out of the top of my head and shit. Let's go to it. Let's go to this article real quick. All right. All right, give me a second. Let me All right, so we got TMZ right here. It says, Cassie to Diddy, I'm always ready to freak off. And this is the text that was shown to jurors, right? So it says, Cassie expressed to Diddy that she was excited to participate in freak-offs, at least based on a text message between the exes that was just read in court. The singer is being cross-examined by Diddy's defense team, and jurors on Thursday were shown a slew of graphic and sexual text messages from their relationship. In one message, Cassie tells Diddy, I'm always ready to freak off. It can be whenever. The text was a BlackBerry message to Diddy on August 5th, 2009, about 2 years into their relationship. The defense has said Diddy's alleged victims, including Cassie. Hold on, let me turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm wilding. All right, here we go. Diddy's alleged victims, including Cassie, were willing participants in the freak-offs and everything was consensual. And that seems to be what they are trying to convey in the text messages being presented in court. Cassie previously testified that her first freak-off was in the first year of their relationship when she was 22. And, okay, the first year of their relationship when she was 22. Y'all keep saying she was 19. Did they start the relationship when she was 19 or 22? Because according to the court testimony, it's 22, not 19. But anyway, she said that made her feel dirty and confused. But it looks like she was telling Diddy something different, at least in that message. Other texts read by the defense in court, Cassie tells Diddy, I feel like I want to F. And he responds, I'm so horny, I can't concentrate. And Cassie replies, I'll go to Dwayne Reed for candles and get the room set up. Diddy's defense attorney, Anna Estavo, also asked Cassie if Diddy taught her how to perform oral sex. And she said he did. She was then asked to read another text, but Cassie asked for Estavo to read it because it was making her laugh. The message was from 2007. It read, I feel protected, you are sweet. Cassie was asked about her 21st birthday party in Vegas. She previously testified it was the first time Diddy kissed her, and she revealed celebs in attendance included Britney Spears and Dallas Austin. All right, so, I mean, there we have it. All right, Diddy's defense is not playing. They're not playing around at all. And it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that Cassie is not a victim here. At least she's not being sexually trafficked. But I think it's important to note, I don't think that Cassie was ever really a victim in the first place. I think that Cassie just played the game smart. She knew that she had information about Diddy that he didn't want public. So what did she do first? She said, I'm about to write this book. If you don't want me to write the book, give me $30 million. Right? So Diddy was like, all right, well, go. I mean, the hell with you. Go ahead and do what you're going to do. So then she didn't put out the book. But then the lawsuit, right? She files the lawsuit. Because if you don't remember, 2 years ago, the state of New York came up with this crazy law that gave women like a year to file a sexual lawsuit against anybody, no matter the time limit. They basically lifted the statute of limitations on sexual assault in the state of New York. So Cassie took advantage of that and filed a lawsuit against Diddy for sexual assault. And I don't think Diddy was necessarily worried about being charged for sexual assault or even losing the lawsuit. I think the most important part of all of this is the information that Cassie had on Diddy, the text messages and all. Diddy didn't want any of this freaky information out there. Because to be honest with you, it's really embarrassing. If you guys have been paying attention to what they've been saying in court, it's really embarrassing. They've said Diddy has some really embarrassing things that are out there for the public now. So, I mean, Cassie, it's also public knowledge now that we know she settled for $20 million and she was supposed to keep her mouth shut, which she didn't. And now we're here. She's testifying against this man in court for the feds, and she's embarrassing herself. And most importantly, the person who I feel sorry for the most, is her husband. I feel sorry for her husband, man. I just couldn't be that dude, man. I couldn't be that dude. I'm telling you, the moment I would have seen the text messages about the urination, I'm telling you, it would have been all like,
Now I done told your ass, if you want something slow and green, you better get you a turtle, ho.
Better get your turtle, ho. But anyways, I digress. I'm not gonna go on and on about this Diddy situation because to me, like, there's still a lot to go on, and like, if you want to hear about that, there's plenty of channels that are covering this shit nonstop. I just don't want to talk about it all day because there's more important shit that we got to discuss. All right, but before we get to that, I got to talk about the Tory Lanez shit. I got to talk about that because that's also important. All right. So if you don't know, Tory Lanez is making headlines this week for two very shocking reasons, to say the least. All right. So it was reported that Lanez was stabbed 14 times. Yes, you heard it correct. 14 times in prison and nearly died. Despite initial reports of suffering only superficial wounds. If you don't remember the day it happened, initially the blogs were saying, oh, it's superficial wounds. That's kind of sketchy. But that's not even the wildest part about this whole situation. Apparently, a lot of people think that Tory Lanez is the victim of a greater power after initially people were chopping it up as just prison politics. Like he had some beef in prison or it was a racial war in prison and he got stabbed up. All right. That's what they were saying initially. Okay. The assailant was a fellow prisoner, a Mexican guy by the name of Santino Casio. And I think he was serving a life sentence for brutally unaliving his 13-year-old live-in girlfriend. That's right. He was charged for murdering his 13-year-old live-in girlfriend. Like he literally shot her in the face, a 13-year-old. Also, this same man, Santino Casio, was convicted of attempted first-degree murder in 2008 for stabbing another prisoner. Okay? And I got an article here that goes a little more in depth into what actually transpired. Just so you know, you don't have to take my word for it. We'll go to the press and we'll quickly read what they have to say, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Okay. So give me a second. Let me get to that article. Shit, hold on. Where the hell is it? Give me a second. I don't even know if I got this shit on here. Hold. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me see if I can find it. All right, hold on. Tory Lanez stabber. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, so CDCR identifies inmate accused of stabbing Tory Lanez 14 times at Tehachapi Prison. I can't pronounce that. All right, so Bakersfield, California. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation identified inmate accused of stabbing rapper Tory Lanez in Tehachapi Prison 14 times as 42-year-old Santino Casio. The CDCR said on Monday, May 12th at around 7:20 a.m., Lanez, also known as Daystar Peterson, was attacked by another inmate identified as Santino Casio at a housing unit in the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. Peterson was taken to an outside medical facility for further treatment and was in fair condition. According to an Instagram post on Tory Lanez's account, he was stabbed 14 times, including 7 to his back, 4 to his torso, 2 to the back of his head, and 1 to the left side of his face. CDCR said that Casio has been placed in restricted housing pending an investigation by the CCI Investigation Services Unit. The Office of the Inspector General has been notified. CDCR said also Casio, 42, was received from Los Angeles County on February 10th, 2004. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for second-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder, personal use of a dangerous or deadly weapon, and inflict great bodily harm, injury. He received 629 days of pre-sentence credit for the time served while awaiting sentences, as he was eligible for credit earning opportunities while incarcerated. This is crazy. How do you, I don't even understand that. How are you eligible for parole after you kill a minor who you were having illegal pedophilic relations with? I don't get that. Shout out to Maurice Baby. He says Meg been living a lie since day one. First, she's never had sex with him. That part right there should have raised major red flags. Facts. And we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that for sure. For sure. So, second. All right, so there we have it. So, I mean, this guy, he's clearly a psycho. But nonetheless, he's permitted to wander the prison amongst prisoners who are clearly far less dangerous than him. And it's crazy because, at first, people were saying that this was about prison shit. They were saying that this was about prison politics. But yesterday, things got a little more interesting. Things got definitely a little more interesting. All right, so this is what we're going to do. What I want to do, I'm going to cut to a video of Tory Lanez's lawyer at the press conference with breaking news from yesterday. Let's get to it.
Mr. Walter Roberts.
Good morning. We are here today to bring to your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory in Mr. Daystar Peterson's case, professionally known as Tory Lanez. Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell.
Now, do y'all hear that? I mean, you're a little slow and you have a hard time hearing. Basically, what his lawyer just said is that there was a journalist working on an op-ed who had came across new information in regards to Tory Lanez's case. They reached out to Megan Thee Stallion's team. Megan Thee Stallion's team responded and said and asked for more information. 2 days later, Tory Lanez gets stabbed up in prison for no apparent reason. No apparent reason whatsoever. Why is that? We're going to get into it, but I'm going to let this video play. Let's go.
Unite the People represents Daystar Peterson in his appellate process. We filed an appellate brief and a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf. The district attorney's office has already responded. The case is fully briefed. We're just waiting for the appellate court's decision. We were willing to wait for the appellate process to play out, but given that brutal, unprovoked attack, we felt it necessary to come here today to provide you with this information. It is our intention to make a request to the governor to either pardon or commute the sentence of Mr. Peterson.
So they literally tried to take this man out before his appeal could even be processed. That's completely insane to me. That's completely insane. Let's go.
So that when he recovers from this attack, he's not returned to a jail cell, but that he's allowed to go home and recover. Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Miss Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was a witness to the conversation Miss Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is what we've been saying most likely happened anyway. It's what we've been saying most likely happened anyway. But I got another video for y'all. We're going to get to that real quick. We're going to get to that, because there's a lot of interesting things going on here. All right, so here we go.
Diana, you had a busy day today driving from Florida.
All right, so this is a video from One American News, and this is what do you call it? Criminal justice advocate Diana London on One American News talking about the situation. All right, let's go.
To California last night. So let's start with the evidence after the press conference you just held today. What new evidence has come to light that you believe justifies a pardon from the governor for Daystar Peterson, Tory Lanez?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pretty interesting last few days since most of your viewers probably have not been following this case. But during COVID, it was a pretty large case that a lot were talking about due to the sensationalism of the artists that were involved. One being very supportive of Kamala Harris, Megan Thee Stallion. And so she rose to a lot of fame with those supports. But with this situation, with Tory Lanez, actually his real name is Daystar Peterson, is an egregious situation. Tory has been serving over 1.5 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit, and we have the evidence. So today, in light of the brutal stabbing, 14 stab wounds on gentleman's body in prison. And let me tee this up to understand why this press conference today was significant. Last week, the New York Post had reached out for comment off of an op-ed that Gianno Caldwell, my friend and someone I serve on his advisory board on his public safety institute called the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety. He wrote an op-ed laying out all the injustices in Tory Lanez's case. The New York Post was working on a piece and had reached out to the camps of Megan Thee Stallion, Kelsey, and the former DA Gascon for comment.
And really quickly, who's Kelsey?
Kelsey was the bodyguard to Kelsey was the assistant to Megan Thee Stallion, who was involved in the incident that night in the car that Megan claimed.
Let me stop right here, because I need to make a point. All right? Black women. This is to you specifically. Okay? Black women. Next time you wonder why certain brothers opt out of dealing with the queens, look no further than this example right here. Tory Lanez would be a free man right now as we speak without 14 stab wounds if he would have just stayed at the pool party and smashed the Kardashian chick instead of leaving with those two drunk ghetto 304s who decided they wanted to fight each other in the street over some eggplant that wasn't committed officially to either one of them. The only crime, in my opinion, that Tory Lanez committed that night was leaving with two crazy ass Keishas when he had a cooperative Karen in the pool, hot and ready, like a hot slice of Little Caesars pizza. That was his only crime. You got a cool, calm, collective, cooperative Karen ready to go in the pool. But you leave with the two drunk sisters who ultimately end up getting into a street fight over some dumb shit at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now you end up in a jail cell because you tried to stop these dumb hoes from killing each other. Also, look who's out here fighting for this man's life. Granted, you had solid black women like Malago Grams.
To be excused for anything I say today, I'm on medication. I do not feel good, bitch. I'm loopy. Blame the lean.
Malago Graham, that's Malago Graham. So you had, okay, there was some black women on his side, but this woman has made it her personal business to do what's right. Meanwhile, your average black woman only believes Megan Thee Stallion for the simple fact that she's a black woman. Just like the only reason they believe Halle Bailey is because she's a black woman. The evidence doesn't matter to them at all. It doesn't matter to them at all. The only thing that matters is that it's a black woman. But notice, if a black man is in question, we don't automatically just believe him. We wait for the facts. I.e., look at the Diddy case. Ain't nobody out here riding for Diddy like that. Granted, Cassie ain't no saint herself. But we ain't really riding for Diddy either. But when it comes to Diddy, most of us agree, okay? Most of us agree that if he's guilty, then he should be brought to justice. Most black men agree. If Diddy is guilty of his crimes, we'll take a look at the evidence, and if the evidence shows that he's done anything that the FBI is accusing him of doing, throw his ass in the jail and lock away the key. But black women don't operate like that. They just believe all black women. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Sorry for the rant. I just wanted to point that out just so we're clear.
Claimed that she had been shot. Okay. So I know there's a lot of context here, but a few days later, Tory was attacked coming out of his cell and almost murdered. The intent was to kill. We do not think that that's coincident. After a few days following that, the New York Post had reached out for comment to their camps, and Tory was attacked. Bodyguard and driver came forth and gave his testimony on the affidavit. It 100% matched the actual testimony that was originally given by the bodyguard that night. And those two people did not communicate. They didn't know each other. So there's no cooperating of story there. And so today we came forward in light of Tory's harm that happened to him in prison, and we are calling for the governor to pardon Tory Lanez. The evidence is very clear that he is an innocent man, and at this point, We do not believe that the system is able to protect him, and he's innocent, so he needs to be released. There's no reason why he needs to continue to be in there. So we're calling on the governor to pardon him and to send him home. And we really believe that this is an egregious act of misjustice, and is important as conservatives who believe in law and order that this is something that we see through and fight for to get this young man home to his son and his family.
Boom. Boom. All right, so there we have it. I mean, this is really, like I said, it's no surprise to me. All right, I followed this case very, very closely, and there was actually no evidence that had Tory Lanez firing that gun. As a matter of fact, like the young lady in the video said, he wasn't even convicted of shooting her. He was convicted on trumped up charges of possession. Okay, even though his DNA was not on the weapon and there was no residue found on Tory at all, the fact that they didn't even test any of the other occupants of the vehicle speaks volumes on what the real agenda was here. Then to top it off, they gave Kelsey immunity. They gave Kelsey immunity, okay? They gave her immunity for what? For what? In the history of court in the United States of America, there has never been a witness, like ever, who needed immunity that had nothing to hide. They gave her immunity because they knew she did it, but they wanted to convict Tory for a reason. Think about it. She probably refused to testify against Tory, obviously because she shot Megan. So then the prosecution offers her immunity to guarantee her freedom. So then she cooperates. But the funny part is, she got to court and never admitted that she saw Tory even shoot the gun. As a matter of fact, no one in the vehicle besides Megan Thee Stallion said that Tory had the gun on the stand. All right, the only witness who wasn't affiliated with either side, right? And when I say either side, Tory's bodyguard was in the whip, Megan was in the whip, and Kelsey was in the whip. Meaning the witness who was outside on his balcony who witnessed the altercation, he never said that he saw Tory Lanez with the gun. He testified that he saw two women fist fighting in the street, and then he heard the shots. And he said it looked like the shots rang from the right side of the car, which is where Kelsey went after Tory and them broke up the fight. So clearly there are some serious inconsistencies with the investigation and also with the prosecution. Now, I'm not sure how much impact this new witness statement will have on the case, but hopefully someone can put two and two together and investigate the fact that this man was stabbed 14 times by a random prisoner just days after Megan's legal team learned of the new witness. Just days. Now, my guess is that it's Roc Nation and Desiree Perez. They have this just looks like they have their greasy ass fingerprints all over this. And if y'all don't know about Desiree Perez and her influence over the rap industry, please look it up. And it's funny. It's funny. Side note, because all these rappers swear they don't deal with snitches and people who cooperate with the police, but almost all of them deal and respect. They deal with and respect Desiree Perez. They deal with and respect Desiree Perez, and she wore a wire and testified against the cartel after she was caught smuggling drugs. But she's Jay-Z's right-hand woman at Roc Nation. which Megan Thee Stallion is signed to, if you didn't know. But anyways, we'll wait and see just how this issue develops. And if there's any new developments, we will talk about it on this show. All right. So, this next topic, I want to discuss, this will kind of get us rolling on our main topic tonight, which is going to be about black fatigue. And to be honest, I think this one was the icing on the cake to the justification of the whole black fatigue movement. Because honestly, I just don't see how we as a people could stoop this low just to act like we got some sort of imaginary W on the white community. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen the story about the young man who was recently unalived by the Cincinnati Police Department after he was reportedly running from the officers out of a stolen vehicle, dropped his illegal firearm, and then attempted to pick it up and run again, which caused an officer to fire his weapon. Now, whether the officer is at fault or not, that hasn't been determined. But to be honest, if we're gonna keep it a buck, and I know a lot of y'all gonna hate this, but I gotta say it. He put himself in this position from the jump. Now, the next day, this guy's father decided he wanted to get revenge for his son's death, so he decided to run over a random officer that had absolutely nothing to do with the shooting and ultimately murdered this man in cold blood. This cop was directing traffic at a high school graduation. And Rodney Hinton Jr., that's his name, decides that this is the perfect timing to avenge his son. I mean, to me, it's a coward move if you ask me, and he's not a hero at all. In fact, he's the opposite of a hero. And any decent person should be able to look at this and see why he was wrong. But not Black TikTok and Black Twitter. They went 10 toes down defending this foolishness. All right, and I'm gonna show y'all some of the videos. I'm gonna show y'all some of this foolishness. All right, where's my TikTok at? All right, here we go. All right, check this out. All right, so here we go. This is the Black Panther Party on this first one.
This law says they got immunity. Well, they're not immune anymore. And Rodney King is sending the message and had the courage to carry out that which we got in our minds and didn't have the courage. But I'm telling you, we're saying he ain't standing by himself. Can I get an amen? Amen. And see now, they say the thing.
You know what really kills me about these black militant dudes? And I'm not judging, because it was one point in my life where I thought I was a black militant, right? Dumbest shit ever. But these niggas talk tough on the internet and in front of cameras, but when it all boils down to it, they are not going to bust a grape in a fruit fight. And let's just say they were ready to do that. Let's just say the Black Panthers were ready to go to war on behalf of black people. That would be the quickest war in the history of wars. It would be the quickest war in the history of wars. They're doing all of this nonsense, faking and perping with guns, talking all this shit. The nigga on the screen here, he's masked up. He don't even want to show his face. All this perping over a nigga who's dead wrong. Over a nigga who's dead wrong. They out here dressed like it's the end of the world, Armageddon, over a nigga who's dead wrong. But they don't get dressed up, suited and booted with the rifles and shit, looking for people who kill innocent kids and grandmothers on botched drive-by shootings. They don't do none of that then. They only do it to come fronting for the cameras when they can make a little change off of race baiting. It's really sad. It's really sad. The hell? Oh, here we go.
Are going to use a justice system because they are concerned and they might want to kill Rodney for avenging his son. We here to say no, sir. No, sir. Now you do that, your other things are going to happen. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. It's our house. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house?
Bunch of goddamn fools. Bunch of goddamn fools. Let's get to the next one.
Hey, this shit going up on the internet, bro. Thank you, brother, for getting in that elevator. Thank you, brother, because this shit would have went way left. It'd have been some more shit on social media. But he was ready. He was stretching. Bro, you could see it in the video. He was going like this. He was ready. Come on now. He ain't playing. He ready, man. What else do he got to lose? Nothing. Y'all already took his baby. Come on now. He ready for it. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Make it make sense. And I seen the comments. Everybody saying, but is he in the right? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's in the right. And he's in the wrong at the same time. But you got to think about it from his side. That was his baby. This man ain't never had a criminal record, ever. Doing the right thing for his son. Y'all took his seed. Something snapped. He did what he had to do. He made his decision. And he's cool with that. You see this picture right here in the courtroom.
Let's get to the next one.
Oh, the cop he got wasn't even the one that killed his son. Good. Because when that cop seen his son, he didn't know that was Rodney Hinton Jr. He saw a nigga. So when we see a cop, we on that same shit. Y'all worry about spending on y'all ops and shit, man. Spend on them niggas. They up something crazy. Spend on that shit. And respectfully, I don't want to hear shit about no policy or no politicking, because what's going to stop the next cop from doing that shit or make that motherfucker take a second thought? Ain't going to be no goddamn policy. They don't give a fuck, bruh. They run the system. But they don't run these streets. I don't give a fuck what they say. How many cop cars they got out here, they don't run that shit. You know what I'm saying? But what Rodney Hinton did, that's going to make the next cop think, damn, is somebody going to spin about this young nigga? We fighting too much shit at one time, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's up and it's stuck for them niggas from around the way. They know what it is. But it's some other motherfuckers that's got to be handled. You know what I'm saying? After that, niggas can settle up and do what they do. But this shit right here, this shit gotta end. They say an eye for an eye and the world go blind. And I say, what's to stop that motherfucker from taking the other one when everything...
All right, so there we have it, man. And this was the response. It's a million videos on TikTok and Twitter. If y'all want to go and check them out, go ahead and do it. I gotta first say this. I actually went viral years ago for expressing my views on police brutality, where I stated that, if a racist police officer kills you or your family unjustly, then you have the right to go back against them. Now, granted, I don't take back what I said, because I think if anybody threatens your life or your livelihood or whatever, threatens your peace, you have the right to defend yourself. Okay? Granted, I didn't realize back then that we were being manipulated to this degree by the media to be blind to the real problems and focus on one demographic of people all the time, even though there's other shit going on. I didn't realize that at the time. But I still don't recant my statements because it rings true for no matter what you're talking about in life. If somebody's fucking with you, then you retaliate. If someone unjustly does something to you, you have the right to defend yourself. But that's not the case here. That's not the case here at all. And this is the typical shit you're gonna see from liberal-leaning black folks on social media. Okay? They get all hyped up off of misinformation and edited TikTok videos that don't ever show an accurate depiction of what actually happened. But rest assured, we're going to get to the facts tonight. We're going to get to the facts tonight. All right? So let's get it. Let's get to these facts. Give me a second. Let me get my shit together. All right, let's get to the facts.
In other news tonight, Cincinnati police are sharing body camera video of the moments that led to an officer-involved shooting and killing of a suspect in East Price Hill.
And WLWT News 5's Danielle Dindak has been leading the way on this investigation for us. She's live right now, walking us through the video. Hi, Danielle.
Hi there, Mike. This video is very fast. We're talking about 6 seconds. 6 seconds from the time that officer got out of his vehicle and fired those shots. I do want to warn you, what you're about to watch could be hard to see.
He's got a gun. He's got a gun on your right. On your right.
In the matter of seconds, it all began with a stolen vehicle, a Kia from Edgewood, Kentucky. GPS tracking led the investigation here, a condo complex in East Price Hill. Officers arrived, and Chief Terry Thiegy explains what happened next.
All four individuals get out and start running.
On your right. On your right.
Some in different directions. So officers decide which individual they're going to pursue. One officer decides to pursue the individual who we now know had a firearm in his hand.
At some point, the person with the gun slips.
They heard the metal from the firearm hit the concrete. This individual gets up, still has the firearm in his hand, and continues to run through the dumpster.
The officer who fired the shots was chasing another suspect before he made contact with the armed suspect.
The officer who did discharge his firearm said that when the individual came out between the dumpsters, he had the firearm in front of him. He was in like a bladed position, and it was pointed at the officer. And he felt threatened for his life, and that's why he discharged his firearm.
4 to 5 rounds were fired. The suspect was hit twice, given medical care right away, and died. Thiegy says this is the gun the suspect had. A semi-automatic with an extended magazine, with another magazine in his pocket.
Let me be very direct. We cannot allow individuals to flee from officers with a loaded firearm aimed at them. When this happens, the outcome is almost always tragic.
Police also told us that a stolen gun was found inside that stolen Kia. At this time, we still do not have the identity of the person who was shot and killed. All police could tell us is that he was approximately 18 years old. Reporting live in East Price Hill tonight, Daniel.
All right, so that's the initial news report. That's the initial news report. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to where the police are actually breaking down what happened. So let's get to that.
Now give us an update to the deadly police shooting in East Price Hill yesterday.
It all started as officers investigated 4 people for stealing a...
Responders for their work to keep surrounding residents' investigation intensive, and I and see
Incident like this one that happened yesterday occurs, the impact is felt long after the moment itself.
All right, so we're gonna get a slower version of the video, and it's gonna be more of a breakdown, so we can put all the rumors to bed.
The emotional toll doesn't end quickly. It lingers with the families, the officers, and the community for an extended period of time. Officers across the country confront dangerous situations every day, sometimes more than once a day. They are often compelled to make split-second decisions to protect others and themselves when faced with immediate threats. Yesterday was one of those occurrences. Let me be very direct. We cannot allow individuals to flee from what happens. The outcome is almost, and everyone involved is see exactly. So to give you an idea, this is 2500 Warsaw. I'm gonna step out in front for a minute.
Okay, now we're to the breakdown. I had to fast forward a little bit just to get to the breakdown part. So put your attention span caps on. Put your attention span caps on, and let's see what the police are actually saying.
Warsaw Avenue is down here. This is the long driveway. It goes up a hill. Where the incident occurred is at the dead end of the parking lot back here. You'll see vehicles there now. You'll see a photo. The stolen car that we're going to talk about was backed into a parking spot back there. As you can see, this is a stolen Kia. It was stolen out of northern Kentucky yesterday. You can see we have two uniformed cars there. Prior to those uniformed cars arriving, we had two undercover cars that pulled into that dead end, saw the vehicle. They backed out. They saw that there were individuals inside the vehicle, so they backed out and let the uniformed cars make the approach, which is the tactically sound decision to do. The cars are positioned the way the officers are trained. We are trained to use our vehicles as cover from any threat. That's what those officers did with the cars at that time. This is body-worn camera from officer number 2. Go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, so you're looking at officer number 2, gun drawn, circling around to the Kia behind this trash can right now. We've dropped the audio because we are told there is some cursing, some swearing in this, and we don't want to have that aired. But
so on most versions in it, I don't have the other version. I'm just gonna play this version because it's whatever, it's what we have. But in the other versions, you can hear the other officers telling them, to your right, he has a gun. So the guy who shot him was given the heads up by officers who saw the guy run initially and pick up his gun. He's on your right, he has a gun. Now picture yourself in that situation. If you're the officer and your partner is telling you he has a gun, he's to your right. You see the kid running out. Maybe he didn't point the gun. Maybe the gun's in his hand, and as he was running, the gun ended up pointing towards him some type of way. Maybe he didn't do it on purpose. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he did it on purpose or not. I'm going to pull the trigger because I'm going to go home to my family. Even if this kid wasn't pointing it at him on purpose, what if his finger slipped and hit the trigger anyway? No, you got to take him out. Once you leave the vehicle, you drop your weapon, then you pick your weapon back up to flee. That shows me that you on bullshit. Now, if he would have dropped his weapon and kept running, that's a different story. But you dropped your weapon, picked it back up, and kept running. You fried yourself. You fried yourself. But let's continue.
You're seeing the perspective from this officer approaching the suspect.
All 4 individuals get.
That's the freeze frame right there. Now, what is he picking up off the ground? Now, it's blurry because this is a freeze frame. This is a 6-second video, so they had to try to get the best shot they could. It's blurry, but you can see clearly there's an object in his hand. His hands wasn't empty. His hands wasn't up saying stop, don't shoot. It wasn't no Mike Brown situation. There's an object in his hand, and the police are saying that it was a firearm, and a firearm was recovered off of him after he was shot.
get out and start running, some in different directions. So officers decide which individual they're going to pursue. One officer decides to pursue the individual who we now know had a firearm in his hand. The other officer pursued another occupant that fled from the vehicle, and that'll be significant here in a moment when you see. So this is a still image. Again, I'm going to step out front. The car is parked over this way, okay? They are chasing the individual. So officer number one is chasing this guy right here. Okay, this is the guy we ultimately end up shooting. The other officer who actually fires the shot on this individual is chasing a different individual further out this way.
And let's make a point here. If these guys woke up that day and said they wanted to just shoot some black people just for running, then how come none of the other guys got shot? Why was it only this guy? We got to be realistic, people.
In this direction. Okay? As this officer is chasing him, he sees a firearm in his hand and he yells, "Gun, gun," he's got a gun. This individual slips, trips, whatever, falls on the concrete right here. Other officers that were also there say in their interview, they heard the firearm hit the concrete. They heard the metal from the firearm hit the concrete. This individual gets up, still has the firearm in his hand, and continues to run through the dumpsters. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Again, we're bringing the audio down because there is potentially language that we do not want aired. And just a warning, we have been told that this video is not blurred. We don't know how much of this they are planning on showing. We just want to give you that heads up.
This officer knows that there's another officer here that is going to ultimately encounter him when he comes through the dumpsters. So he makes him aware of that. He shouts out to him, "On your right, on your right." He's on your right. And that's where this individual comes out from between the dumpsters. This is the other officer, the one who fires the shot. This is his body camera as he approaches the scene.
All right, again, bringing the audio down here, and this video is not blurred. This is the first time we are seeing this, as well as many of you.
So the police chief was describing how they called out to each other that this suspect was going to be running through the dumpsters. This officer had circled back behind there, anticipating, and that's when he does fire those shots that ended up being deadly. Let's listen back into the chief.
Officers were chasing him. It's just a photo of it here at Criminalistics.
So, and I'll leave the link for that video if you guys want to go watch it on your own, but no need to keep going through it. You get the point that I'm trying to make. All right, so, I mean, there we have it. I mean, clearly, even if you don't agree, right? Even if you don't agree that this was a justified shooting, which it most certainly was. But even if you don't agree, I think we can all agree that had he not been on some bullshit, he would still be alive. The Cincinnati Police Department wouldn't have the opportunity to even ponder if he had an illegal firearm if he hadn't decided to ride around with a bunch of other young niggas with illegal firearms and a stolen vehicle. Which, when you think about it, is probably the way he was raised. If he was raised at all. But this might be the way he was raised by his father, who decided to take another man's life who had absolutely nothing to do with shooting his son. Now, as I showed you earlier, Black Twitter and Black TikTok didn't wait for the investigation to be completed before they immediately started defending the actions of Rodney Hinton. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck for real. Get out your emotions. Odds are this man was a terrible parent and has no accountability for the fact that his son is a part of the real problem in black society. I can guarantee you that Ryan Hinton, which was the young man who got shot, and his friends weren't riding around with semi-automatic weapons with the extendos to protect themselves from white supremacists. They were riding around their own black neighborhood, ready and prepared to shoot other niggas. And I'ma keep it a buck. If I lived in that neighborhood, I champion for those officers to get a Medal of Honor for actually attempting to protect and serve the law-abiding citizens. Hypothetically speaking, what if these young niggas were on their way to shoot up a shopping center or a playground area where their ops were, and an innocent bystander or a young child got shot? Would there even be the same level of outrage? Almost every goddamn day, that type of shit happens in the black community in broad fucking daylight, and not one witness volunteers to step up. But because the shooter happens to be a cop in the middle of doing his goddamn job, by the way, now it's a national emergency. Give me a goddamn break. And this damn father goes and kills an innocent man. I would have had more respect for him, or I could have at least entertained the argument if he would have got at the man who actually shot his son. But he chose an older cop with 33 years on the job, about to retire, who was directing traffic at a graduation. And you niggas are calling him a hero. He's a coward. And not just because he killed a defenseless man. That's not the only thing that makes him a coward. He's a coward because now his son's death investigation definitely won't go the way his family wants it. And I'm not saying that it should. But he ruined any chance for his family to even potentially get anything from it. Also, now he makes his family potentially targets of the police, who you people claim are terrorizing your community. Now you sitting your dumb ass behind bars and can't do shit about it. Instead of just taking accountability for the fact that your son was out here in the streets bullshitting, and who knows? Who knows? If you would have took accountability and went about it a better way, maybe y'all could have got a couple million. If the city, if the lawyers found out the city made a couple mistakes, maybe not. But you ruined all your chances of that. All your chances of that. So hell nah, this nigga ain't no hero. And I'm gonna tell you, the joke's gonna be on us, because once the other officers' body cam footages come back and everything the police said happens ends up being in 4K, then what? Then what? See, this is why I can't realistically be upset about the whole black fatigue conversation that's happening on all social media, Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever, because we pretty much earned it at this point. Now, what is black fatigue exactly? Well, if you look up the term on Twitter, you'll find several white people and a lot of black people using the term to articulate their impatience with the insane behavior that too many black people are either participants in or making excuses for. But what's the actual underlying problem here? The problem is not that all blacks are doing the ridiculous things that are being reposted and discussed on these black fatigue forums. That's not the problem. The problem is that there's not enough black people condemning these things. And instead of condemning these things, they instead find ways to blame white people. which in turn makes us all look silly because the main culprit of destruction in our communities is niggas. So instead of crying and whining about other ethnic groups for utilizing pattern recognition and calling out black fatigue, we need to practice a little something that I call nigger fatigue. What is nigger fatigue, you ask? Nigger fatigue is the great noticing and calling out of nigger or ghetto hood culture, which has been a cancer to our society ever since LBJ's Great Society Project took a chokehold on our way of life since the 1960s and 70s. Now, I've already done a ton of shows breaking down LBJ and his Great Society con, so I'm not about to run through all that shit again tonight. I'm not doing it. I'll put a link in the description to shows that I've done before, after the fact, and you can click on the link and you can go see what I have to say on that. All right, but anyway, long story short, the Great Society policies put in place by Lyndon Baines Johnson basically turned the black community into test tube subjects for communism. It's literally the birth of the black community's dependency on the state. It's literally the black community's the birth of the black community being dependent on the government to survive. And that also being the catalyst for eliminating fathers out of the household. As I said, since the 60s and early 70s, we have been dependent on the government based on these programs. And I'd even argue that we are now literally 5 to 6 generations deep in this toxic culture, and it's getting worse and worse by the year. But here's what we're gonna do. I wanna show y'all a couple of examples of what I'm actually talking about here, okay? So real quick, what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna show you guys a video from Franconia, Virginia, which is a couple miles outside of DC. All right? Check this out. Give me a second. What the hell is this shit on? Give me a second. All right. All right, here we go.
Well, a new policy is now in place at a McDonald's in Fairfax County. Those who want to dine inside the Franconia Road location must be 21 years of age or older. This comes after multiple fights among young people broke out in the dining room area.
All right, can y'all hear that good? Good. All right, good.
According to management. News 4's Dominic Moody explains the reason for the change and the new process customers have to go through to get a Happy Meal.
Imagine it's lunchtime and you're ready to get that nice, juicy burger. You've been waiting all day for those nice, hot fries at Mickey D's. And so you come to this Virginia location in the Franconia neighborhood in Fairfax County, and you're going to run into a couple of things that might be unusual from what you're used to seeing. First is this sign telling you why they are asking you to ring the doorbell and what prompted this new policy.
This video, obtained by News 4, shows the melee inside of this Fairfax County McDonald's last week. The location is right down the street from Thomas Edison High School in the Franconia neighborhood.
These kids are off the chain. They have no respect, no discipline, and it seems like how they acting, their parents allowing them to act.
Workers inside tell us young people, including some from Thomas Edison, can be seen fighting, heard cursing, and standing on tables in the video. Managers of the McDonald's say those actions and other similar incidents led to a new policy and this sign on the front door on Monday, reading, quote, "Due to repeated incidents of student violence, the location is temporarily closed for dine-in service to anyone under 21 years of age."
Like, we sitting down eating, y'all smoking, y'all drinking, y'all cussing. Come on, yo. Like, come on.
Stacy says she, along with her grandkids, stopped by the Golden Arches location in the past and saw a group of young people disrupting other customers inside. She says she's okay with the new rule.
I understand where they coming from because that's turning customers away. If you hear you acting up, that's they losing their business.
Management says adults age 21 and up can still enjoy their Big Macs and Happy Meals inside. They may be asked to show their ID. To get service, customers need to ring the doorbell, and a team member will let you inside.
This McDonald's, I would have never expected it.
Other customers like Bridget say she hopes young people...
Did you hear that? She said, this McDonald's, I would have never expected it. I didn't think that this type of foolishness was going on in Franconia either. However, it is. Now, they mentioned that the school was right down the street from Thomas Edison High School, right? So clearly the kids are coming from that high school after school or at lunch acting a fool. And I know what you're thinking. Well, how do we know what race of the kids are, right? What's the race of the kids? Well, 70% of the school are minority kids, right? I think like almost 40% are Hispanic, 17% are black, 12% are Asian. There is a lot of white kids there too, right? But how can I guess you guys are thinking, how can I assume that it's the black kids going and ruining this McDonald's? Well, I'm not assuming. I'm not assuming because the shit's on tape. Shit's on tape. And we're going to play that tape. All right? So, here we go.
What the fuck? She just walked in that bitch and did that. Bro, I just want my...
This is what the young scholars are doing.
Fuck this bitch. Fuck, bring the knife and shit. Fuck. Fuck. Go me fucked up. Go me fucked up.
To be honest, what is nigga trying to fuck?
Oh, what the fuck?
Nigga's trying to fake drag.
That's right, bro.
Holy fuck.
And y'all see that, right? So there we have it. There we have it. Nigglets doing what nigglets do best. Acting like a damn fool and destroying everything in their path. Absolutely no respect. And you know what? Damn that. They have absolutely no concept of authority or respect because these kids are being raised by single mothers who have absolutely no control over their households. And to my point earlier, this is why we need a serious overhaul on Section 8 and other federally backed programs. This is the product that we're getting from Section 8. And what's even scarier is that this behavior is what's considered cool hood culture, right? This is what's considered cool, the hood culture. And it's now poisoning a good portion of the black kids that even live in decent homes. Why? Because you bougie ass liberal Negroes are too brainwashed by hip hop, MSNBC, and the Democratic Party to realize it is a fact that niggas, ER or single A, are causing the majority of your problems. That is a fact. Niggas or niggers, GA or GER, they are the cause of the majority of your problems as a community. As a community. It's niggas who drain the budget in majority black cities. Why? Because they fill up the jails. Their rent is paid by the taxpayers. And they turn the schools that we dump billions of dollars into a goddamn prison-like environment, because when it all boils down to the facts, it ain't the teachers. These little niggas can't behave. And you wonder why they keep getting into run-ins with the cops. Let's keep it a buck. Most cops are trying to do their damn jobs, and niggas make it difficult. So yeah, when I hear a story like Ryan Hinton getting deleted by the cops for fleeing a stolen vehicle with an illegal firearm, I'm not outraged. Because simple math will tell you this: 4 YNs, 1 stolen vehicle, 4 unregistered weapons with extendos to match equals what? It equals what? I'll tell you what it equals. It equals this.
We begin with breaking news.
I never thought that I'd be burying one of my babies.
Right now at 11, a gang-related shooting in Jacksonville leaves a 7-year-old child dead and a 21-year-old man with serious critical injuries. That information coming to us tonight from investigators. And as you just heard there, the mother of Breon Allen, the little boy killed, is speaking with First Coast News.
But first, news surveillance video captured the moments that dozens of bullets were sprayed. The shooting happened in the West Side area this afternoon near Commonwealth Avenue and Orchard Street. Tonight, we have live team coverage. Christina Burgess is speaking with the boy's mom outside of the hospital.
But first tonight, we want to begin with Renata DiGregorio. She's live at the scene on Commonwealth Avenue. And Renata, what's happening there now at this hour?
Anthony, Heather, it is still very busy out here. According to police, there were nearly 4 dozen officers just from JSO's unit focusing on group violence. Right now, there are a number of evidence markers that are laid out. Police are searching for multiple suspects, and one neighbor who lost count of the number of gunshots she could hear on her surveillance video hopes investigators find the suspects fast. Surveillance video from a neighbor's backyard shows what appears to be a man and a boy walking down the 2200 block of Commonwealth Avenue Friday evening. Video then shows what police believe to be a dark-colored Kia Soul drive toward them. Then this. More than 40 gunshots can be heard.
40 gunshots. 40 gunshots. And there was a 7-year-old boy right there. And they shot at them 40 times. This is the shit you stupid ass niggas make excuses for. Bro, as far as I'm concerned, I thank God the Cincinnati police stopped Ryan Hinton and the rest of them little niggas that day. I thank God. They probably prevented another situation like this from happening. I'm tired of watching, and while I'm at work, responding to situations like this where innocent children are being killed because your YN little bastard sons want to ride around terrorizing the community. It ain't the police, man. You can't run that game no more. And that's why everyone's calling us out on our bullshit, because we still trying to make ourselves victims out of thin air when you can clearly see all this shit going on. 4 niggas in a UUV with ghost guns and extended clips. 99.999% of the time out of 10 ain't going nowhere to do nothing positive. It's either a robbery, a drive-by, or a botched robbery, or a botched drive-by where innocent people's lives are at stake. Every single time. Let's go. We ain't finished.
And first, a devoted grandmother shot and killed during a Mother's Day weekend sleepover with her young grandchildren. And tonight, who did this and why remain unanswered.
No, we cooking tonight.
Questions. Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell joined us live. He's been digging into this terrible mystery. Brad, what have you uncovered?
What we've uncovered is a really sad story that has impacted this community here in Palmer Park tremendously. This is the home where it happened, right here along Ray Leonard Road. You can see those windows covered up with plywood. Those were brand new windows just installed. The bullets went through there. That's the master bedroom. That's where this woman was found deceased.
That's Leslie Yvette Davis doing a Facebook post speaking about her travel business just a couple of weeks ago. Today, she's being remembered by her family and neighbors as a wonderful, caring mother and grandmother. Her death, stunning her community.
The woman, if you wanted the name, that was her right next door.
Davis was found shot to death Saturday afternoon inside her Palmer Park home when her daughters came to pick up their children after a Mother's Day weekend sleepover. The 4 young grandchildren had been alone in the home with their deceased grandmother for hours after someone outside fired multiple shots through Davis's bedroom window. The children unharmed. Police officially today saying they believe this was a targeted attack. But why remains a mystery to them and to the people who knew Leslie Davis.
Maybe there was just something from case of stupidity, or maybe they was actually thinking they was trying after somebody else. But it had to be a mistake.
Yeah, that's what the neighbors say. They just can't imagine why anyone would possibly target this home. Look, so today I did speak very briefly with one of Miss Davis's daughters, the mother of 2 of the children that were here in the home. She was way too distraught to go on camera. You could hear her children inside. Her focus today was on taking care of them after this terrible tragedy.
Fee, fi, fo, figure. I can't stand none of you niggas. Like, this shit really pisses me off. This shit really pisses me off. I'll tell you why. Y'all out here giving GoFundMe money for Carmelo Anthony and cheering on cold-blooded murderers like Rodney Hinton Jr. And you got shit like this happening every goddamn day in your community, and ain't no GoFund money for them. And the hell with the GoFund money. The victims of these crimes can't even get a goddamn witness. You can't even get a witness. So you goddamn right, I got nigga fatigue. I could play you videos like this all goddamn day. Literally every day, there are multiple stories across the country of innocent children and senior citizens shot and killed in botched hits just like this. And the perpetrators are still walking the streets. And in the rare case, one of these niggas are caught, y'all screaming for the nigga to be freed. And what's crazy to me is how even though all the stats are tracked, and anyone who does 20 minutes of research can see what the problem actually is, you still have delusional black folks out here who always find a way to blame white people and act like victims. Honestly, the outright delusion is baffling to me. And I get it. Years ago, I was brainwashed into thinking white folks were the problem, the cause of all my problems too. Like I said, I went viral for talking shit about police brutality. But it gets to a point where you gotta stop and analyze this shit objectively. Right? But yeah, anyways, speaking of delusional people, I want to get to this next video. It's about this podcaster, and shout out to him. I don't know his name, but I've seen him all over Instagram. He's definitely started gaining a lot of traction lately with his takes on women and race relations, and he seems like a relatively smart guy. But to me, his takes on race are completely unhinged. So let's go ahead and get to it. Give me a second. All right. All right, let's go. Where that shit at? Damn. Hold up. Damn. What the hell? Give me a second. Let me do this again. Let me add this shit again. All right, here we go.
If the goal of white supremacy is to erode the soul, what do you think's happening to your children when you subjugate them to ostracization and racism at such a young age? They're like formative years they're spent trying to assimilate with racist. Because if you think they ain't being called a nigger at school, you're out of your fucking mind. You subjecting your kids to racism at such a young age when it's not necessary because you think the education is better? And is it a better education, or do they just have better amenities?
Let me stop him right there. I got a question for y'all. Is racism actually worse than being in a violent environment? I really think that needs to be studied. Because I'll say this. The majority of the black folks that I know that went to predominantly white institutions, whether it be high school or college, or even if they grew up in a white neighborhood, most of them do better than those of us who grew up in majority black environments. I grew up in Northeast Washington, D.C. on the clean side, as they say. Hardworking, middle-class families and all that. And still, there was a very significant amount of associates and people that I grew up with, even some friends, in and around the surrounding neighborhoods, they all either died too early or they went to prison. Granted, it's not as bad as most of the other black areas in DC. But when compared to our counterparts who went to other schools and grew up in other neighborhoods, it's not even close. So yeah, I think a lot of times we over-exaggerate the effects of so-called racism because we are too proud to admit that our shit isn't up to par. But anyways, let's continue. I just needed to make that point.
Just better amenities.
And how is the education better if the whole educational system is based off of lies and propaganda? What are you expecting? A better education? No, you just think that ice is colder. That's what they think. Yeah. They think the closer you are to white people, the better you are. But how the fuck you gonna be equal to people that deemed you 3/5 of a human? How? How does that work? Explain that math to me. Niggas turned you into a fraction of a person. And you standing in front of them whole. And you remove them completely from blackness. They don't have black neighbors. None of their teachers is black. Oh, you think your child at school causing trouble? No, they're being singled out. Because these people are fucking racist. You just put them in proximity, and I've heard all these different stories about people like having to being subjected to so much racism. That's going to traumatize your child for the rest of their life. So, for the only way for them to have a good experience is to go along. So they have to remove their dignity. They have to remove their pride because you're severely outnumbered. You can't fight everybody, and the more fights you get into, the more of a problem you are. When you're already seen as a problem to begin with.
So here's the problem, right? Everything in this guy's take is all emotionally based and severely lacks any logic or factual information. So his biggest gripe with sending your kids to a quote unquote white school and having them live or socialize with white people is that they are going to call you a nigger. They are all racist, and that they look at you as 3/5 of a human. I mean, first of all, damn near everybody in the in a black school or a black neighborhood is gonna call you a nigger. So off the break, somebody calling you a nigger shouldn't be a problem. You should be used to it. You're black. Everybody calls you a nigger. Right? To your face at that. To your face. And assuming everyone in the white school is going to call you a nigger is crazy. I mean, first off, you can't prove it. Second, if they were, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be to your face, so you wouldn't even know anyway. Second, there is a major difference in the education you get when we're talking about a predominantly white school and a black school. I mean, I'm not even about to waste my time going through the statistics, but it's not even close. It's not even close. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say that it was close. You know what the overwhelming deciding factor for me is when it comes to my kid attending a predominantly white school or neighborhood, and a black school or neighborhood? The overwhelming deciding factor for me is safety. All day, every day, it's safety. And all day, every day, black schools in neighborhoods are significantly less safe than white ones. It's just a fact. If you were to look at murders in the United States of America, black folks it's not even close. We have an overwhelming lead in both categories of measurement when it comes to murdering each other. Both categories. We lead without a doubt in total murders committed, and we lead in per capita. In 2022, there were a total of just about 25,000 homicides in the United States, okay? black folks committed 13.5 thousand of those murders. That's almost at a 60% rate. Okay? 13.5 thousand out of 25,000. Per capita, we were 29 murders per 100,000 people. For white folks, it was 4.2 thousand. Excuse me, 4.2 per 100,000. For Asians, it's like 1.2 per 100,000. We're at 29. Those are astronomical numbers. Astronomical. So what's my point? What is my point here? I don't really care how many white folks are potentially going to call my kid a nigger behind his back. I'd rather them deal with the perceived possibility of passive racism than be exposed to the other shit. I'd rather them deal with the perceived possibility of passive racism and be exposed to better opportunities in life than be subject to niggardry, be subject to low expectations, and the violence that plagues most predominantly black schools and neighborhoods. Not trying to be a dick, it's just a fact. All day, every day. All day, every day, I'm gonna send my kid to the white school. And you know why? You know why? Because I got nigger fatigue. You know, and I hate to put it like that, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, man. It's time to look at ourselves in the mirror so we can take a true step forward and actually improve our neighborhoods and our schools and everything else that we have. There was a point in time where black folks were the most up and coming minority in America. We were married at an 85% rate. Most of the black businesses were in the black community. The black schools were doing decent. There was a father in every home. Now we're at the exact opposite of that. And that is the root problem behind all this shit. So before you go whining and crying about white folks having black fatigue, actually take a step back, look at the stats, look in the mirror, look at your community, look at the fucking news. And just ask yourself, who is behind all of this? It's us. And I hate to say us, because there's definitely a difference between black folks and niggas. The problem is, some of these black folks make excuses for niggas. And it's time to stop making excuses for niggas. It's time to stop making niggas the gold standard of what it means to be black. It's time to stop that. Everybody can see it. Our pants are completely down at this point, and we're still acting like we don't know what's going on. Bruh, come on. Let's stop. Let's stop. Anyways, I had some other stuff I want to talk about, but shit, we're an hour and 45 minutes, and I gotta wake my black ass up and handle business tomorrow. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this short. Shout out to everybody on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and Instagram. Shout out to everybody. Appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. We was really kind of lit on Twitter tonight too. Shit, really lit. We got 50 people on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter. I know that don't sound like a lot, but shit. We up and coming over here. And really, I got to be a little more consistent. That's my fault, but you know. I be on moves, man. That's what a real man does. Real men are busy. Real men be on moves. Okay? I ain't got time to sit around the house all day making videos, even though I want to. And pretty soon, I'm going to get to the point where I can do that. But anyways, for myself and the rest of the crew here at Trippin' Ain't Easy TV, peace out. Catch you on the next one.